very glad to be a part of today's Founder Made Beauty and Wellness Summit, and I'm looking forward to our discussion about growing brands from the idea stage all the way through to the consumer. The folks here on the virtual stage now have great information to share with you and quite a lot of experience with brand development and product ideation, with packaging, formulation, manufacturing, and retail execution too. As Michelle said, I am Deanna Utrusky, a beauty business thought leader and the editor of the news site called cosmeticsdesign.com. I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves each briefly. First, let's go ahead and meet Allison LeBaron, Vice President of Innovation at Mayume. Allison?
Thank you, Deanna. Hi, I am Allison LeBaron. I am really pleased to be here. I started in the industry actually as a cosmetic formulator and evolved over the years into a leadership roles, mostly supporting product development. And over the years, I found that I love the ability to support product development from both a technical and a creative perspective. So I'm thrilled to be here and thank you.
Awesome. Great. So let's hear next from Bruce Teitelbaum, CEO of RPG. Hi, Bruce.
Hey, hi, Deanna. Thank you for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure to be back here today as what I call a new founder as a partner in the Vertical Beauty Alliance with my colleagues Allison and Derek. Most of you know me as the founder of RPG, which is a creative resource for the design, the development, and the manufacturing of all types of display fixtures in retail environments all over the globe. And I'm very excited to share with you today that next month we will actually be celebrating our 30th year in business, which is an amazing accomplishment and a message to all the founders out there that if you set your mind to something and you want to accomplish it, you certainly can. We've long since played a very, very strong role in advising our clients on the path and the process that they might take for growth and opportunities. And now, with our partnership in the Vertical Beauty Alliance, we're actually applying those same disciplines to turnkey brands and product solutions. So it's a natural evolution for us, and we're very excited about the opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce, and congratulations on that anniversary. Excellent. So let's finally go ahead and meet Derek Wanner, the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Manna Products. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Deanna. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Derek Wanner. I've been with Manna for almost 8 years in multiple roles in sales, product development, customer marketing, and have the opportunity to work with a lot of great folks. As you know, Manna has a tremendous legacy in contract manufacturing, and we're excited to talk about the Vertical Beauty Alliance and some of the enhancements that it brings to Manna's platform. So excited to be here. This is my first Founders Made, so let's get started.
Awesome. Excellent. So I appreciate those introductions. Thank you each. I want to just tell our audience that besides the fact that you're experienced leaders in your respective fields, as you've just described, you also are bringing something very important with you, not only today, but to the product side of beauty in general, which you've alluded to, and that is collaboration. Bruce suggested that you've collaborated quite recently, and I imagine most of the folks looking at Founder Made's Beauty and Wellness Summit today do follow industry news to some extent, so have heard this news that Manna Products, Mayume, and RPG have teamed up to help beauty brands expressly navigate this concept to consumer journey. And the collaborative endeavor, as we've heard, is called the Vertical Beauty Alliance. So what this alliance actually brings to brands is unparalleled innovation, reliable speed to market, very important, and quite exciting right now, given our current moment, if you will, is a global footprint for creativity, for formulation, and for manufacturing. So since each of our panelists really can share insights and ideas on different aspects of that concept to consumer journey, I'm going to chat with you each essentially one at a time and take questions from the audience for each speaker as we go along. If you're on the panel and you want to jump in on someone else's topic, feel free. And if you're in the audience and you don't get your question answered as we move through this brand and product journey, know that we will save a bit of time for a few more questions at the very end of our half hour. So I'll go ahead and get started. And Bruce, I'd like to begin with you. I'd like to begin at the beginning, of course. So I'd like to take a look at what we can think of as the idea or concept stage. I'd like you to answer what do founders need to be aware of at this brand ideation stage? And also, can you speak to the sorts of strategy and design decisions that need to be made here at this early stage?
Absolutely. So I think what founders and need to be aware of when they're starting a new product is the creative ideation is probably equally as important at the beginning as the formulation is or the package is, and how all these disciplines come together to form the whole brand architect. So the brand vision, the voice, the creative energy, the design, the strategy, all come together at the same time that we're putting together the strategy of what actually these products will look like. And the design generally sets the stage for what the consumer experience will be and how that product will be received by the consumers and how it will be received at the market. So if we're talking about this idea of going from concept to consumer, we're starting at the beginning here, and we're collectively taking a look at every single touch point that comes into the ideation of that branded product.
Yeah, that's great, because I think the journey that we're looking at isn't only taking a concept right from the mind of a founder and then putting it in the consumer's hand, but it's not just the steps along that journey, but it's actually moving the literal concept right through design, like you've described, into the consumer's hand and mind and heart.
Right.
Yeah, awesome.
Exactly. So I think that along that process, we have to be concerned about like the brand and the product definition, market audits and analysis, concept and positioning,
Right.
and a curation of all of these findings that then will really result in the brand voice.
Excellent. Excellent. That's very helpful. What about finding actual white space in the market or identifying a real opportunity? It seems quite an important step right at the beginning, if you can make it happen.
Well, I think that considering we're at Founder Made, I think it's very, very important for us to acknowledge that the first thing you have to do is trust your gut instinct about what people might want and need. And once you've identified that and you come up with the opportunity, you really go into the marketplace and you look at the other brands around you, you assess those brands, and to be honest, you figure out where they're falling short, what the gaps are, where that formula or that performance might have fallen short, or where that packaging may not have a sustainable quality that somebody's looking for today. And you kind of put all the pieces together of sort of making a better mousetrap and building a better product or building a better vision. And that will organically fill in the gaps in the white space and create something that hopefully will stand out above the others.
Yeah, that's a very cool way to think about it, because I think it's so often that founders are looking to meet new consumer needs, but as you're describing it, there are holes right left in the market by the other brands that you might think of as competitors. So that's very smart to take that approach as well. Can you say a little bit more? You mentioned the idea of brand voice. Can you talk a little bit more about brand voice and visual language that actually does the job of depicting a brand?
Well, I think the brand voice comes together collectively through all different opportunities, whether it's problem solution, whether it's the enhancement of existing ingredients, effectiveness. And then what we do is we take all of that and we put it together in a visual language. So we're able to take all the objectives and the opportunities and architect it so it literally turns into a visual language, and then we could bring it to life and move it forward.
Awesome. Awesome. So one question from the audience that fits quite nicely in here for you, Bruce, is thinking about how brands are defining their voice, particularly during the pandemic. Can you speak to any changes you've seen with some of your current clients or just observations you've made in the marketplace?
Well, I have to tell you that during the pandemic, I've never seen a time when there were so many opportunities where people stayed home in their living rooms and literally created products. There's an enormous amount of new product innovation coming, more than we've seen in years. And what's really important is that once you have that opportunity, the path and the process to bring it to market really needs to be paramount. We've seen a lot of changes as a result of the pandemic, safety at retail, what we call the return to safe retail, the right packaging, the right products. I think there's an enormous sustainable issue going on now, how we test products, how we engage with products, how we reorder products. So we're calling it the new normal. We're moving the industry forward, and we've seen a lot of improvements that are coming out of a result of this. But there's just a tremendous amount of innovation and people that were inspired to bring new products to market during this time.
Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent for that. I'm going to go ahead now and have a chat with Allison. I'm wondering, Allison, if you could start by telling us really what sort of guidance you have for brands that are navigating the supply chain in particular here in 2021.
Sure. Well, the industry is really built on relationships and trust. And you saw that through this pandemic and really the reach out as everyone's at home, reaching out to people they can trust and build a relationship with, or build that dream that you can do when you're sitting more in your place of comfort. You want to look at companies that will be transparent, flexible, and most importantly, honest. Our alliance is creating a global network of suppliers and experts to help support these needs. We have regional sourcing resources integrated into this global structure to really help support and build an agile supply chain. So it's a one-stop shop. We're looking to really help you build and create your dream without having to go to 5 different partners to get that completed.
Mm-hmm. I like that you said trust, because I think that is such a key part, especially for founder-led brands, really building relationships with suppliers and other partners that they can trust as they grow their idea, right? And then eventually their brand. That's terrific. So once we've mastered the supply chain, let's assume we'll check that box, right? It seems like we get next into manufacturing, doesn't it? Can you say a bit about manufacturing, Allison?
Sure, it certainly does. And we offer with our alliance an interconnectivity between our manufacturing facilities. And I won't go into too much detail because I do think Derek will address that for the most part, the local US manufacturing, but we do offer manufacturing across the globe, including the UK, China, Indonesia, and Thailand.
Yeah, which is terrific. Again, I mean, if your customer is local to that region, it can be helpful, especially right now, to have manufacturing available. So I'm glad you pointed out that global presence there. Let's talk a bit about packaging development, Allison. What would you share there?
Okay, well, I think like Bruce said in the beginning, product and package development are very parallel. There's an alignment. And as a global beauty partner, we embed a culture of learning and sharing. How do you find that white space? How do you find what really is going to be the opportunity to create that brand's individuality? So we've designed an internal communication platform to capture insights that will give our teams the confidence and knowledge to make informed decisions when helping brands develop and grow.
I like that, because I've gotten to speak with hundreds, if not thousands, of founders over my years in beauty. And so many of them have terrific ideas, terrific new brands and concepts, but they don't have a big enough vision of where they sit in the global marketplace, right? And I'm imagining that each of you, and then definitely collectively, really can add some great insights and perspective to that and really help new brand leaders figure out where they fit.
Yep. It's really having the expertise to support and that collaboration. So I think the common thread from today's complete comprehensive session is you can't do it alone. You need to collaborate. It needs to be a group and partners.
Absolutely. Well said. I want to stick with packaging just a little bit further, Allison. I'm sure you get this question all the time, and I feel like I hear it from someone every day. It's in a direct message or an email or something. Everyone's looking for the answer, right, to sustainable packaging in beauty. I'm wondering what you can tell us about the challenges, but maybe also some of the solutions available in sustainable packaging today.
Sure. Sustainability is the big buzzword, right?
Yeah.
And it's very individual to the brand. As you're developing it, you want to ask yourself, should your package be recyclable? Should it be biodegradable? Are you looking for reuse or refillable? Once you do identify the vision and what fits you best, then you can start to build. So what we offer is a really strong package design and innovation team that's been focusing on sustainable options for over 2 years. So we saw this need and we really wanted to create a focus. The first axis of our strategy focused on recycled and bio-based materials testing over 70 different materials. And through that, we've homologated 21 different materials that we use currently in our pack solutions.
Okay.
Our second axis actually focused on refill, reuse, and recyclable products like glass, aluminum, and paper, which we love. We love the infinite recyclability of some packaging. We actually have 6 patents currently, so we can help support and guide on sustainable packages. But again, the conversation needs to be what fits you best. How do we make sure that we are using a package that is sustainable to your expectations as a brand?
Mhm.
One thing to know, there are technologies and resources as we're starting to grow what sustainability means to the industry and the economy. And we're using a software called Spice that helps us to assess the environmental impact of sustainable designs, because you need to start to have a true footprint. And that's where honesty comes in. How do you measure that if you don't have software to support it? And that's a great support system that we've just started to work with.
Yeah, excellent. I love it. I love that you made the point of having sustainability to really fit with the brand and founders, vision, right, for sustainable, which usually aligns nicely with their consumers' vision of sustainability, but also the software that you've described. At some point, you have to be able to quantify and measure what sustainability means for your business, but for the planet, really, I think is what we're looking for. So it's nice to hear that you're working with a software like that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Derek at this point. As Allison suggested, Derek, I'm going to think more about manufacturing in particular with you. Manna Products, we know, is quite well known as a contract manufacturer in the beauty space. And I'm wondering if you can talk about what brand leaders need to know when they're working with or choosing a contract manufacturer, but also just in case someone isn't up to speed on the terminology, remind us what contract manufacturing is too, please.
Absolutely. It's a great question, and I'll kind of work my way through it with a couple of the pieces. So first, as you're evaluating a contract manufacturer, someone that you would partner with in order to develop from scratch cosmetics, skincare, hair care, that's where we really partner together. And I'd say as you go through that journey, it's starting first, understanding the capabilities. Where does that contract manufacturer play? With the Vertical Beauty Alliance, we have the ability to manufacture in skincare, hair care, and color cosmetics, and do it on a global scale. And that's one of the beautiful parts about the alliance that we have created together, that it's not just a Long Island City-based manufacturing system anymore, it's on a global scale. The other piece is probably really understanding the timelines involved, from concept all the way to launch as you partner with the contract manufacturer. The other piece is what is their approach to innovation? How are they tackling it? How are their labs set up? Is it just one innovation lab? Like Manna has a powder lab, a color lab, a skincare lab, and then a separate lab focused just on innovation. And then the other piece, and I heard this kind of as a recurring theme in the workshop before ours, as well as some of what Allison and Bruce brought up, is that partnership, that willingness to be flexible, because we all know a timeline is wonderful, but then there's also going to be those pesky retail partners that maybe want to change things around, or surprises come up along the way. And it's that flexibility within the partnership that I think is really important up front. And I think as you establish that relationship with a contract manufacturer, it's really important to understand and meet the teams that are inside of that manufacturer. With Manna, you've got a product development team and an R&D team and a customer service team, a dedicated project management team, and that is so important along the process to make sure you're getting that proactive, transparent communication. With Manna, in addition to what I mentioned, we also have a regulatory team. So if you are looking to launch, whether it's on a global footprint or in the US, they're making sure that they're compliant and adhering to everything that's needed for the right launch in the right location. And then there's supply chain and quality control. So I think what I keep saying is it's really important to make sure you find someone that you feel is going to be a true partner with your business. And, for us, that's where we think Manna and the Vertical Beauty Alliance really starts to set themselves apart. Most people do know within the history of Manna, we had some of our own brands, and we've done this. We've learned a thing or two because we've done a thing or two as far as the brands that we've run and managed. Now, the transformation we've gone through over the past couple of years is getting out of that so that we're solely focused on contract manufacturing. But it's nice to have the experience so that when we work with these founders, we kind of know we can help them with what to expect and some of
Sure.
the kind of the forks in the road along that path. And
Yeah.
it's one of the pieces that we continue to pride ourselves is we consider ourselves the team behind the team to
Yes.
help the
Yes.
founders focus on running their brands and marketing and not worry about the behind the scenes.
Excellent. Can you just very briefly contrast this idea of contract manufacturing, which you've shared quite a lot of great information about, with the private label option?
Sure. At Manna, we have multiple platforms for brands to come in, and one of those platforms is private label. What this basically does is allow speed to market with a stock library of formulation and component that's sitting on shelf ready. So if a founder, a customer brand would like to come in and quickly get into market with an item within weeks, we could be shipping and have them in business. Now, the benefit of this private label business is they're not having to worry about the burden of carrying a lot of inventory. It's sitting on shelf ready to order, and it gives them amazing speed to market. So this is really meant for someone that's just getting started in the business and allows them access to award-winning formulations that are sitting within our library. Like I said, without that burden of the manufacturing or handling the inventory.
Yeah, excellent. And quickly then as well, can you tell me a little bit about the accelerator program that you have at Manna? We hear so much about incubators and accelerators right now. Tell us what this is about.
Yes, it's really that bridge that sits in between the private label business and then all the way up to custom development, which is that first tier of contract manufacturing that I talked about. That accelerator program allows a maybe more established, a more mature brand to access a greater formulation library, bring in some of their own custom packaging so they can drive differentiation in the market, but still do it with speed. And we're looking at, on average, maybe about a 16-week time frame from when they could come in. So it's really that bridge from private label where they're taking stock component, stock formulation, and bridging themselves up to where they would do custom development. So it's really that in between.
I see. Excellent. That's very helpful. Very good. We do have some nice questions coming in. I'm going to hold them till the end because I want to take just a moment and ask Bruce a few more things here, sort of about the last stage or the other end here, getting closer to our consumer. Bruce, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what we call retail execution. I know you mentioned this early on. Can you just remind us what that is, but also talk about why brands do need to include this retail execution element in their planning and how it comes together in terms of design, development, and manufacturing as well?
Okay, absolutely. So I think it's important to remember that today we're talking about the path and the process from concept to consumer. So we've got a great formulation, we've got a great product, we've got a great brand. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to sell it? And are we going to go D2C, direct to consumer? Are we going to be in a traditional brick and mortar environment? Or most likely what we're seeing a very large shift today will probably be in both.
Yes.
And that's probably the best recommendation of how we can be the most successful. So we're seeing a large uptick in direct-to-consumer sales now, but we don't want to negate the fact that products are best received when they're test tried and the consumer can experience them in real time. So we'll go in and we'll design that retail environment or that retail execution or that digital retail vision, and that really rounds out the whole process. So that's how we actually get the product in the consumer's hands.
Excellent. Excellent. Can you say a little bit about channel distribution decisions at this point as well? You mentioned briefly about D2C and brick and mortar, but what else happens here?
Well, I think the opportunities in D2C for emerging brands to just get out there and have a platform with a faster execution or a more efficient cost model is a fabulous opportunity now. But there's different opportunities on how brands could integrate into different shops or stores. Like if you're going into a beauty retailer like Bluemercury that has multiple brands, they could welcome you there on their shelves. Or you're going into a concept like Glow House in Bloomingdale's, which welcomes a lot of indie brands. They can make you part of the process there. So you can join another process, you can be independent, or you can have the balance between the digital and the physical experience as well. We've also seen a lot of brands launch digitally and then transition once they get traction to the brick and mortar experience. And we do feel very strongly, not only because we build retail experiences, but brick and mortar is not going anywhere. If anything, the experience is going to be enhanced and safety measures are going to be enhanced. And we're going to move that conversation forward on behalf of all our brands and founders.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the questions that have come in from our audience for the full panel. I will direct this first one to you, Derek. Someone is asking very specifically if Manna works with CBD or cannabinoid ingredients yet.
Yes, we do. We actually have it introduced in a couple of our collections. So Manna does 2 really outbound collections per year, spring and fall. We've had several items that have included CBD type items.
Excellent. And these are what I would think of maybe as prototype product formulations, collections that fit the current trends, and your clients can then look at them and see how might I want to use this sort of product in my portfolio?
Correct. Usually as a building block.
Excellent. Awesome. Very good. Another question that I want to get to. Someone is asking about custom capabilities. So not so much in terms of color matching, I think, for a full product launch, but what if an indie brand is literally serving their customers one at a time and sent you, a foundation shade? How quickly do you create products like that on a very individual basis, or do you work in conventional batches?
A lot of times that's more of the traditional contract manufacturing work. Now we do have within the accelerator brand, in the accelerator platform, where we do some shade customization off of an existing base. So it kind of depends on a project by project basis how we would do it, and how customized we're looking to get with the base formula as well as the shade.
Absolutely. That's a great answer, because I think, as specifically individual as we'd all like to think our skin tones are, there are a lot of good starting places, right, that can just be slightly tweaked. So it's not necessarily as custom as we might think it needs to be. I think that's helpful to remember. Someone is asking a question really about the Vertical Beauty Alliance altogether, and I'll let you answer this one quite swiftly because we're almost out of time. But what space in the industry in terms of founder needs or brand needs is the Vertical Beauty Alliance itself looking to solve for?
I can answer that question.
Please.
I think that I think we're bringing solutions not only to emerging brands, but existing brands or brands that want to reinvent themselves. We've also seen a tremendous amount of traction of non-beauty operators that want to enter beauty or want to enter the industry. And this is a wonderful way to do it, because we can bring the brand voice, the creative vision, the formulation, the packaging, and collectively we could check all the boxes to put these people in business. For larger companies or companies that have been in the industry for quite some time, we're making the process really easy. We're really putting these resources together where we're such experts and we have such collective experience that rather than jumping around to multiple disciplines and having multiple parties, which creates a lot of breaks in the supply chain, if we're not talking about the packaging, while we're talking about the compatibility of the formula with the packaging and the execution and the stability in store and the shelf life and how it all comes together, it sometimes becomes problematic to have such a beneficial result.
Excellent. That's very helpful. So we've run completely out of time. I want to quickly say thank you to our panelists, Derek Wanner of Manna Products, Bruce Teitelbaum of RPG, and Allison LeBaron of May You May. And I thank all of you in the audience for joining and asking questions today. I'm Deanna Utrusky, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this wonderful Founder Made Beauty and Wellness Summit. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Deanna.
Thanks all.